right, it's 6 o'clock. We can stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, just a reminder to silence your cell phones. We don't have to turn on our mics anymore. And we'll start with roll call.
Mayor Sherman.
Here.
Councilor Garrell. Here. Councilor Klinkhammer. Councilor Lindstrom.
Here.
Councilor Spradlin.
Here.
Councilor Tyree.
Here.
Councilor White.
Here.
Good. Approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or corrections to the agenda for tonight? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve.
Move we approve the agenda of the regular meeting, October 24th, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilor Spradlin.
Yes.
Councilor White.
Yes.
Councilor Tyree.
Yes.
Councilor Lindstrom.
Yes.
Councilor Garrell.
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. Motion passes. Approval of the minutes. Does anybody have any corrections or revisions from the minutes from the last meeting of October 10th? If not, I would look for a motion to approve.
I move that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of October 10th, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilor White.
Yes.
Councilor Spradlin.
Yes.
Councilor Garrell.
Yes.
Councilor Tyree.
Yes.
Councilor Lindstrom.
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. Visitors and delegations. Do we have anyone here for community comment? It looks like everybody's here for their presentations. Okay. So we don't have anybody for citizen comments. We don't have any management items. So we'll move on to finance.
I move we approve disbursements and payroll for October 11th, 2022 through October 24th, 2022, totaling $383,012.92.
I second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilor Tyree.
Yes.
Councilor White.
Yes.
Councilor Garrell.
Yes.
Councilor Spradlin.
Yes.
Councilor Lindstrom.
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. That motion passes. Next we have our department heads review of capital improvement requests. We'll start with our finance director, Joanne Gosling.
He was excited.
Every year at this time, we have the department heads come forward and they talk to the council about what they're requesting for their capital outlay projects. And they've already did their line items, so now tonight they're going to present those capital outlay project requests, and then we'll go from there. And I guess we'll let Derek go first since he's so excited.
He's so anxious.
I don't ever get to be page one on anything. I'll be quick unless you have questions. So my first one is just to replace one more police vehicle. We do one a year. The price has gone up slightly, so I'm just asking for $70,000 instead of $65,000, just as an extra cushion for everything there. Next is we have, this is replacing some ballistic shields and then adding to what we have. Currently we have two. They expired roughly 9 years ago. The ones we currently have a 5-year shelf life, and that's long overdue. They stop handgun rounds only. I've been talking to a company that will give us a great rate on rifle-rated shields. Same size, same weight, and there's no expiration on these, so we can keep them forever. And so this would give us 12 shields. The idea is we could put one per patrol car, and that way, you know, we avoid the Uvalde excuse that we don't have shields, because we have shields right then and there for the officers, and just get them tools in their cars for their job. The next one is actually not my request, that's Dale's, so he's going to talk about the speed limit signs later. And then page 5 is just our continued body camera and Senate Bill 217 compliance. No changes there. And then the last request is, I'm sorry, the second to the last request. This year, I asked for funding to design a new animal shelter, and for a variety of reasons, we just haven't been able to do that. So we've spent no money this year on that. But we have opened a discussion with Parks and Wildlife of doing a combined facility with them for a police department and Parks and Wildlife office. So I'm asking for $15,000 next year for engineering designs for a new police department as well as the animal shelter building. The animal shelter is probably more of a 5-year goal from now, and that coincides with the cold storage project. But the police department is something that Parks and Wildlife is moving in the next 2 years on theirs, so we'll design and then build. If you look at 2024 and 2025, I put in just some dollar figures as a placeholder. I have no idea what the expense will actually be, but I also wanted to span it over 2 of our fiscal years because they run on a different fiscal year with the state, so just trying to cover all my bases there. And then the last one. This is to replace our in-car computer systems. Right now we have 4 laptops that are very outdated. They're showing their age and they're shared, so over the next 2 years, 2023 and 2024, I would like to add or replace those and add a dedicated laptop to each car as well as a mobile printer, and this covers the cost of the printer and associated software for each and every laptop. So that's all I've got. Any questions?
So is the Department of Wildlife open to sharing the project? Or have we?
Yeah, I think we've had some good discussion. Everybody wants to move forward with it. The how is kind of what is yet to be decided, and what does that look like? Is it one building? Is it a duplex style building where we have half and there's a wall in between and they have half? Do we share ground, not share ground? But yeah, we had some very good dialogue.
It's a long process to get the state funding piece of it, so the last time that we had met, they were still looking through their channels to see what next steps were gonna be, and my understanding is that this project would be pretty high up on the list of the state.
Yes.
But they were kind of leaning more towards the Brush Agro Park, we're more leaning towards Hospital Road, that area, and they were going to go back and kind of see where things were going to shake out on their end, and then we're going to get back together, so we'll do another meeting to see where that's going to go. But the good news is if we start putting some concepts together on paper so that they can actually see it, what we're explaining to them, they can take it higher, see that. The good news is that I got a feeling this might be a good out-of-cycle DOLA grant to help pay for, the larger design, not the entire plan, but really good conceptual plans for this, and throughout that idea of, a joint project. So it's a really good one.
If I'm not mistaken, I recently heard that our department is actually behind the times on the mobile printer. If I'm not mistaken, is the sheriff's office using them?
So the short answer is yes, we're behind on that. Morgan County and Fort Morgan have them. I think Log Lane has them, but they're not functional. So yeah, we're trying to get there. I don't think it's really hurting us not having them at this point, but it will definitely get us up current with everybody else.
I was just reading through kind of what you can print on there. How is that beneficial to the officer on scene?
One of the biggest things that we've run into on scene, so if I'm at the office and I write a search warrant and there's an officer out at a scene waiting to execute that search warrant, I can email it, they can print it, and they can go.
Nice.
Right now, they have to wait till I drive out there, physically hand it to them, which not always a big challenge, but where we're seeing more and more of the need is when we have multi-jurisdictional responses where it might be Fort Morgan search warrant at a house here in Brush. So Fort Morgan can email me the search warrant, I can print it, I can go execute it. Now we just expedited the process, which is very beneficial because we're getting busier and busier and busier. The other big benefit there is with citations. So if I issue somebody a ticket, I print it all out, hand them their paperwork, and I'm done. With all of the contact tracking that we have to do now for the state, the printing software combines all of that into one process. So currently, if I write a ticket, I have to go on my phone and also fill out a form on my contact and document all that. Then I have to also document it on body camera. With the mobile printing options, I fill everything out on the laptop, I'm done. I don't have to go back and enter separate for the citizen contact and for the body camera.
Would you say that this potentially would increase officer and public safety by limiting the amount of time you're saved on the side of the road?
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
I think there'll be some hiccups there to start, so we might be on the side of the road longer, but overall, yes, I think it will.
Cool. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chief West.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have Lance Schwint.
All right. I don't have too many this evening, but I do want to give you an updated on a couple projects. We did purchase a lawnmower this past year, but with COVID and everything else, it's still probably another 5 or 6 months out, so it'll actually be expended in 2023. And the other one is our storage building for the golf course. We were just about ready to pull the trigger on getting it constructed, and then we talked to Sursa, and they wanted us to do some things with our gas tanks, and then also with the Christmas ornaments and everything else. We kind of redesigned it so that we could be able to maybe house some stuff for some other departments also. So kind of got behind the 8 ball on that one, and because of that, again, it'll be another one that's going to be probably done, completed next year. As far as the projects for this upcoming year, one thing that we had talked about over the last couple months is the Prairie Trails Phase 1 park for the couple ball fields over there at Prairie Trails. This one will be in use of ARPA funds that we have secured through COVID. And then also we will be asking the foundation for some funding, and we will be doing some grassroots fundraising with that. And then once I talk with Monty and Joanne and get an idea, there may be some other funds involved as far as the use of those to complete that Phase 1.
Lance,
Yes.
can you do us a favor? Next council meeting, if you've got it available, let's bring like a visual of what is Phase 1.
Okay.
So that we kind of know what that's going to be and
Sure.
what it entails.
Yep, I can do that. All right, and the second one is requesting from the Conservation Trust Fund, which is our lottery dollars. They're in the back side of the golf course is where we have all of our gas, and it's just, it doesn't look very good. So we want to put a privacy fence over it just so that it protects it. Then underneath that is an area where we get a lot of mud and everything when the rains are falling, so we need to redo that drainage. People have slipped out there, and it's been kind of dangerous. So this is another project where we're asking the Conservation Trust Fund for half of it, and then we'll also request from the foundation the other half. So that's just something to spruce up the looks of it, and then also take away kind of a danger area for the people that are using the facility. The next one is the Park and Cemetery Kubota. We have a Kubota that's aging. It's starting to have a lot of repairs, so we are going to, of course, trade this in or send it to auction, and then get whatever we can get the most money out of our old Kubota, and then also purchase this new one here. Again, I will be requesting part of the money from the Joslyn Needham Foundation and Pettis Foundation, and then the Capital Reserve Fund also was the request for this. The next one is over at the swimming pool, some exterior pool lights. Inside the pool area this year, we had several instances of vandalism, and also people inside the pool area after hours are over. So we want to kind of enhance the lighting. It is pretty dim out there, so we're wanting to do a little bit. In fact, just over the weekend, and I just got back into town about 10 or 11, so I don't got all the report, but I guess the new playground equipment that we put right outside the swimming pool area, someone came and vandalized that and tore it all up.
Oh, the
music stuff. So someone did that over the weekend. I'll get more information on it, but
Do
Just more lighting. I mean, it's not, that's not gonna keep people away, but hopefully if it's that well lit, maybe someone will be able to see or something
about
like that. But it's
cameras?
very, very, very frustrating.
You
So
don't have cameras out there?
we don't, and that's something that, is something that we've always talked about, but it's a little bit tougher, like inside the pool area where we don't have a lot of, I guess you can put a computer out there a hard drive and all that sort of thing. We've talked about different areas because we seem to be getting hit all over town with vandalism and everything else, so it's just what extent do we want to move forward
That's
with
really
that?
unfortunate. That music equipment has been so
Yeah,
great.
it's pretty neat. So, yeah, it's pretty frustrating, and they had done it earlier in the year. Some kids did, and damaged a little bit, but this damage was pretty bad. So it's frustrating. And then another one here. It's a big one. Our fairway mower. We had bought used equipment when we took over the golf course. And that equipment was, 10 to 12 years old, and so the fairway mower that we have is over 15 years old. And so this is another one, is a purchase that we need to make. I will be requesting the majority of the funding from the Pettis Foundation, because it is a $90,000 piece of equipment. So the majority of the funding would come from the foundation, but they like to see the city have a little bit of skin in the game with some of these donations and everything like that. So there'd be $30,000 that would come out of the Capital Reserve Fund. And then, again, with the golf course, 2 utility cars that just, instead of having actual pickups and everything like that, they just have the little, almost like golf carts with the maintenance backs on them and stuff like that, for $25,000. Again, requesting $20,000 from the foundation and asking just $5,000 from the city for that project. The next one is the swimming pool slide. It's over 30 years old, and they're starting to get wear holes in it and everything like that. And instead of replacing the slide, which would be $150,000, $200,000, there is a company that's coming out to do Ray's slide this year that will sand it all down, repaint it, resurface it, and it should be good as new. So we think that's the better route to go. And once again, that's another $18,000 that I'm requesting from the Capital Reserve, and then I'll also be requesting $18,000 from the Joslyn Needham and Pettis Foundation to pay for half of that too. And finally, this one's kind of a nicety. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's absolutely needed, but it would enhance our golf course equipment. It is a greens roller, and what it is, it's just, just like it sounds. It's a heavy roller, and what this does for us, it allows us to not to have to mow every day. We can mow every other day and stuff like that. And so over time, it's going to save a little bit on employees. It's going to save on the wear and tear of the greens mower, on all that sort of thing. So it is a $25,000 item. $20,000 of it will be requested by the foundation, and the city would be requested just $5,000 for that. But it is a nicety. If we don't get it, I understand, but it would make our greens even better than they are right now, and that's kind of one of the big things that people come to our golf course for is how nice our greens are. So anyway, that's all I have. If there's any
You had
questions.
that on there last year too, didn't you? And
Yeah, we did, and we got the greens, but the roller was a lot higher than what we were expecting. Yeah.
And we got the greens mower last year?
We got the greens
Okay.
mower.
So the
This will be
mower,
a-
the greens mower is different than a
Yeah,
fairway mower?
we got the greens mower. Yeah, the greens mower just does the greens, and they cut it at.
Teeny tiny.
Yeah, there's a whole different ballgame with the science of the golf course. I'm finding out more and more. But that's what I have tonight. If there's any questions.
No. Did I miss? I missed Ray. Sorry.
Oh, you're
Well,
Is it the same in the book?
It's not in the same in the book, though. Oh, never mind, I'm on staff reports. Never mind. I'm sorry, Dale. Psych. Okay, Dale, yes.
Yeah, based on the size of this stack, you think I was a little needy, because it is two-sided. First item I want to talk about is install some radar feedback signs on Edison Street.
I don't know if anybody's been through Akron lately, but if you have been, as soon as you come in, it's right there. If you're going above the speed limit, it flashes. And we have approached this once before in two different places. One's over here at the old Ace Hardware store. That 25 mile an hour speed limit signs, you're coming in from 35 down to 25, but it blends right into the building. And with today's distraction in vehicles, it's not hard to miss it. And there's times we get people coming through in front of 7-Eleven at 40 mile an hour. They're flying. And so the whole idea is to catch their attention. The second one would be over on the east entrance of Livestock Exchange. As soon as you come over the tracks, it's now a 30 mile. You're dropping from 40 to 30. And so this just allows people to, just one more reminder, hey, this is the speed limit. We will probably have to get a permit from CDOT in order to install these things, but they are effective. So.
Can I ask a quick question so
Sure.
I don't lose myself at the end?
Mhm.
When you're coming into town westbound, it's 30.
Mhm.
When you're going eastbound, it's 35 long before you ever see that
Mhm.
30 mile an hour sign. Why is that?
Because of the entrances from LEI.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of traffic coming onto the highway if you're headed eastbound, but as you're going westbound, there's quite a bit of traffic that comes in and out.
Okay.
So that's why they have that. And that's set by CDOT, that is not set by the city.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are these signs mobile or are they permanent?
They're permanent, they're gonna be solar powered, they will be
Okay.
permanently mounted. And again, they'll have what we call the radar trap, a radar limit on them, so young fellers figured out a long time ago, if they go really, really fast, those things will tell you how fast you're going. We don't allow that to happen, we just make it flash after a certain ceiling limit. So it kind of keeps that taken care of. Next item is our annual preservation of various streets. We actually didn't get a lot of preservation done this year, simply because the companies are busy. You have to get to them the year before you want these projects done. However, we did do quite a few street projects and spent a lot of money, but it's time to get back to some crack filling and some seal coating and as such. So I'm asking for $300,000 for that. Next item is going to be the purchase of a motor grader. We typically rotate this out every 5 years. It keeps our equipment new. We get great trade-in value. This is shared between 3 funds, the water, the wastewater, as well as the street department. We do utilize it the motor grader out at the wastewater facility to help maintain the roads and the like. And same with the water department out towards the well field. And then, of course, so there would be a 54,000 three-way split on these funds. Next item is going to be an air conditioner replacement in the booster pump station. The equipment that was put in, installed back in 2006, probably wasn't the best selection. It actually sits inside the building, and it's up towards the ceiling, and so we don't get a lot of air exchange up there. It's very hot all the time. What we're looking at is a split unit where the condenser and everything is, or you probably know a little more about it, but you know, the condenser unit's outside where it can exchange the heat. And right now we're currently using a swamp cooler, and it's just really makes too much moisture in that building. It's not good for it. So next item is a carryover from the last couple of years, and that is replace some of our water meters. They're right at around 20 years old, some of those. They said 17 on this one here, but they're getting old, and if there's one thing we know is that water meters do not go faster, they only go slower. And so in order to help with our water conservation and cost recovery, we try to replace these out about every 20 years. We're also going to be moving towards a radio read system where you don't actually have to have boots on the ground, getting in people's yards, trying to get a meter read, or waiting for a dog, or if somebody's not home and you can't get to it. So it'll all be radio read eventually with that. But this is an ongoing project. Part of the problems why it's being brought up, is, rolled over again some more, is supply chain. These newer meters we have are ultrasonic, and as such, no chips. No chips on meters, so they're electronic. Next item is replacement of the computers in the water department. We have one main computer. It's supervisory control and data acquisition, or SCADA for short. It actually monitors all the different levels of the tank, the pressure of the wells, and makes everything work and coordinate that way. Plus, we have computers that we use for administrative purposes, training, writing memos, keeping track of inventory, those types of things. So we're looking to replace 2 of those as well. Next item is the replacement of the water department backhoe. We are currently in a program, a government program that allows us to rotate these out every 3 years or so, or 4 years. And what we do is when we take the water department backhoe, we send it out to the cemetery, and then we take the cemetery backhoe, and that's what we use for trade-in. We've been very fortunate to stay in this program. Kind of like to stay in it. That way we always have good equipment, both not only at the water department, if we have a water break or something like that, we got good equipment we can rely on, but also out at the cemetery as well. Next item is going to paint and repair the second water storage tank. A couple of years back, we actually took one water tank down, cleaned it all out, had it sandblasted and repainted. It's just part of the maintenance of having a water tank. The health department's very, very strict these days on water tank maintenance. And so then it's now time to do the second tank.
Extends the life as
It
well. That's
extends
most
the
important,
life,
yeah.
yes. Because what'll happen is you'll get holidays that will develop underneath that paint, and then all of a sudden it starts rusting away, and you don't want to have those holidays in your metal. So, next item is a vacuum trailer. We're looking to purchase one. Also, some of the health departments, and of course this is coming down from EPA, but there are new lead and copper regulations coming out. They looked at the way that they had the old lead and copper regulations, and it didn't help Flint, Michigan at all. So they are actually revising the rule, and one of the new components to this new rule is we have to inventory every service that goes into every house. And we have to know exactly what that material is made of. And if it's galvanized or lead, at that point, we will be strongly encouraged to get the homeowner to replace it. And so that is still their line. We can't force them necessarily, but the health department has, as well as the EPA has, floated the idea that the water utility replace those lines because the homeowners just can't afford them. So one of the things that we'd like to be able to do is pothole down rather than some of these meters are inside the homes in crawl spaces and such, and that's pretty invasive having to go in there. So what we would like to do is pothole down to the service to see what type of material it's made of. That way we can have an accurate inventory. Some places we have, it comes off the main as copper, then it transitions into lead. So if you just look at the main, you would think it was copper. You wouldn't think it would be lead, but we have to inventory this stuff. There is a Front Range community right now that is getting ahead of the game, and they are paying a contractor $750 a pothole. So that's pretty pricey. We know pretty much what we have over here on the west side of town because those are newer installations. Typically, the lead lines have been banned for years, but on the east and on the south side of town, we have to really determine what type of material we have. In addition to using it for potholing to determine whatever the services are, we can utilize this particular trailer in other areas. For example, we had to set a meter vault over at the fairgrounds, and there was so much congestion between gas mains and electric lines. We actually paid a contractor to come in and pothole the excavation out for us in order for us to put in a meter vault there. We've talked about replacing some of the trees downtown potentially, and how are we going to get them out of there. If we had a vacuum trailer, a hydrovac, we could actually hydrovac out all the soils and everything so we don't tear up the electrical as well as the irrigation or signal lines that are in those tree wells. So there's multiple uses to have a vacuum trailer. Next item is a credit card operating filling station. As you may know, we have an overhead fill spout out in front of the street shop here. And it used to be at one point in time that it was coin operated, but this is well before my time, and the rumor has it that it was vandalized on a regular basis. So what we would be doing is putting in a actual, they actually fabricate these filling stations where a person can come in and now they can just swipe their credit card and they can fill up with whatever water they have. This is not the first, here just recently I caught people just pulling up, filling up, and leaving. and they thought that was okay. And so we're losing water that way. They think it's free. And so this will stop that as well. So kind of recover some cost recovery on that one. Next item is a deceleration lane for the agri park. One of the conditions we agreed to with the state was that we would put in a deceleration lane out there on Highway 71 for the agri park. And so we were going to have it actually designed this year. We just never did finish. But at some point, I'm just not sure if we have enough traffic out there yet to construct it. But we're going to try to at least get it designed.
And before we do that, we're gonna check with CDOT to see if there's any possibilities if we do a reassessment, if we can push that one out a ways, because, you know, there is only one company using it right now, and it's not terrible bad as far as the traffic out there. And so we're on our 5th year, I think, and so we just have to check with them to see if there's a possibility and get it reassessed. I think Tyler did it last time, the traffic study. I thought you had coordinated that with the consultant who did that study, and reach out to them and redo it.
Okay. Next, we move into the wastewater fund. We're looking at replacing some of the heaters in some of our outbuildings there. These are very special heaters that have to be explosion proof, and I guess a couple of them have stopped working, and we need to get them replaced. They're not cheap. They're, like I say, they're a very specialized heater for explosion-proof environments. Next, under wastewater fund, is the installation of ammonium probes. These probes actually sit in the treatment process in the water itself, where the microorganisms are doing the work. And this will give the operators down there a chance to see where they're at in that treatment process, because we have to oxidize ammonia to nitrate and then remove the nitrate. And so we want to make sure that we're not wasting too much electricity converting that ammonia into nitrate. We can better make some energy savings on that as well, just by getting a better handle and better information, more timely. Next one is the replacement of a mixing chamber on a polymer system. Because we grow and harvest microorganisms, we try to keep that sludge as thick as possible, those biosolids as thick as possible. And this mixing chamber was a polycarbonate system, I believe, and it's starting to fail because you have to get in there and clean it on occasion. And they're talking about replacing it with a stainless steel unit, so we don't have to worry about it, or the PVC. We don't have to worry about the PVC rotting out on it. Next one is the upgrade of the server and supervisory control and data acquisition computers at the wastewater plant, just like the water plant. We have computers that monitor all the different processes all the time and makes decisions on what that information coming back is. Currently, our server is 10 years old, and so it's about due to be replaced. Our SCADA systems are right, I believe, are right around 5. They're not old, so we're keeping those new. If we if one of those computers goes down, then we're out there manually with personnel and man hours having to document a lot of this information. Next one is the replacement of a primary sludge recirculation pump, as well as we're going to have a replacement of return activated sludge pumps, as well as some influent pumps. These pumps on these 3 pages here, again, 10 years old. They're running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They don't get a break, and after a while they start to wear out. And so this is going to be a multi-year replacement, so we're going to get one right away on this here, and then purchase one potentially in 2024, and then looking at 2027 for another replacement for those 3 requests. Next, we're going to move on to stormwater and replace the street sweeper. We just purchased a street sweeper back in 2016, and it, like most of any other equipment that we have, it starts to wear out. Keeping in mind we're sucking up gravel and sand, and it sandblasts the back of the sweeper, and as such we've already had to replace several parts on that just to keep it going. So it's about due. It'll be 7 years at that time when we replace it. And finally, this is my big wish list right here, is Cambridge and street stormwater improvements. What we would like to do is construct a new 60-inch stormwater collection line and construct a wastewater, or a stormwater pond over on the unused property at the golf course. Right now, Cambridge and Emerson is one of our trouble spots. We've done really good with eliminating a lot of the flooding that's occurred in the brush and that I've seen in the last 32 years. This is one area that is still lacking, and the only thing that's going to really make it better is if we give it more capacity, and that's what this project will do for us. We'll increase our inlets as well as stormwater pipe, as well as the storage pond itself. We've done a really good job, with the exception, we get localized flooding because of people blowing leaves in the street, and they'll cover the grates, or there's trash or something like that. That type of flooding we'll never get rid of.
Is it still a 60-inch pipe you want to put down there, or is it being recommended?
That's what's being recommended. And
That's huge.
it is. It's the same size pipe as what we put in over here on Edmond Street going out to the new stormwater pond for the downtown area. It's a 60-inch, but it takes the water. So not only does it can take that water, but it also acts as a storage vessel as well, so, until it gets to the pond. And so I'm looking at right around 1.6 million for that particular project. We'll always look to ways we can always bring that number down. It is conservative, so, but that's all I have. Questions, comments?
It's a lot of requests.
You're an expensive date. Yeah, you're an expensive date.
I would just like to say that, I have some basis of knowledge when it comes to like the police department, fire department. Like I have some basis of knowledge when it comes to that. I have zero basis of knowledge when it comes to what you do. And I appreciate each of the department heads' ability, especially yours, Dale, to just break this down real quick in layman's terms and make it to where I can understand it, because a lot of times it's just over my head.
Gotcha.
So I really appreciate that.
Yeah. And if there's any time that any counselor has a question, please feel free to come over. I like to talk. I think we all know this, so be glad to explain it. So.
It's just nice to understand, what we're voting on and, making decisions on and things like that.
Sure.
So I really appreciate your ability to do that, because this is very highly technical stuff.
It is. Okay, thank
Thanks,
you.
Dale. Tyler?
All right, unlike my predecessor, I have one item. Dale's got a lot of important stuff going on.
$2.7 million.
Yeah, and community development doesn't typically have a lot of capital projects, but the one on there is for a comprehensive plan update. We did one back in 2007, 2008, and since then, a lot of time has passed, a lot of projects have been completed, a lot of new people in the community as well, and so it'd be good to revisit that. It's definitely a community outreach tool. There's a whole process involved with getting as much community feedback as possible on guiding the next roughly 20 years of brush, 20 years and beyond. And so the request on there is a combination of both city funds as well as contingent upon grant funding through DOLA, through their Energy Impact Assistant funds that they send out, or that they make available. So that is that. That's a short summary of it.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Tyler.
thank you.
Ray, now you get to go. Sorry.
Well, Dale had a lot of requests in there for 2.7 million, and I could do that with one request here, but
His wasn't 2.7.
well,
I anticipated Tyler's.
sounded like it, but.
It did sound like it.
So we have two requests here. The first one is the refurbish of the tower ladder. So as most of you are aware, when we purchased that tower ladder, it was already 25 years old, 20 years old, somewhere in there, that we got from West Metro for $75,000. So it's to the point now where it's starting to nickel and dime to keep it running. So 2 years ago, the price to replace that was right around $1 million. So that was before COVID hit, and now that COVID hit and the supply chains and inflation and everything, that price to replace it has now gone up another $1 million, so we're at $2 million. So we worked with a company out of Henderson, Nevada, that refurbishes fire trucks. And so basically they go in and strip it all down and put everything new in. They overhaul the motor and the transmission, update everything so it's up to NFPA standards. And they estimate that it gives your truck an additional 10 years of service life. And so back when we got the quote, and I'll have to verify if it's still good, the price was $563,298. So, you know, it's a little bit less than the $2 million. However, not knowing what the price of everything is going to do, I was just at the Chiefs Conference and talking with manufacturers. They don't know where this is going to stop or when it's going to stop. They're getting hit with price increases daily on some materials and monthly, quarterly on other materials. So I guess my question is, are we doing the right thing if we refurbish this and spend $563,000? Or do we take that $563,000, put it as a down payment, and look at a lease purchase of a new one, extend that over a 5-year, 10-year period, and make that payment and possibly still be able to put money into the fire equipment fund for other items that need to be replaced? Because if we do this and we refurbish it and we get 10 years, well, guess what's coming due at that 10-year mark along with a new ladder is a new engine at the same time. And I can tell you the engine that we purchased 2 years ago at $700,000 is now $1 million.
So one question would be is, so if you got rid of this truck, what kind of a trade-in, or what would you get out of this truck today?
$50,000, $75,000 maybe.
I think it's just it's a math equation. You know, you have to look at truly what is the cost of a new engine, right? Because, I mean, could be 2.1, 2.2, or it could be 1.75. We just don't know what that is.
So
that's, and when we got this truck, what I remembered about it was, comment was, it's not exactly what we truly need here, but it's kind of close enough, and I can't remember if it was too long of a ladder or what it was, but are there different types of ladder trucks that are probably a better fit for you guys?
So there are different types of ladder trucks. So we could save a couple $100,000 by going just to a straight stick. And what I mean by a straight stick is it's just a straight ladder. So if you look around Brush and our tall buildings, what do they house?
Older people.
Older people. So if they're on the 3rd story and I just stick a ladder to their window and tell them, okay, we're going to assist you down the ladder, well, what are they going to tell you?
Can't do it.
Okay? So now I have a platform that I can...
They're going to say, Ray, carry me.
So now I have a platform that I can get to their window, I can open their door, they can step out of their window into the platform. So what's going to better serve our community is a 100-foot platform. A 100-foot platform gets us to the top of any of our buildings that we need to get to.
How long should a new truck last, say?
20 years.
So that's why it's a math equation.
So it's
comparing
20 years.
20 to 10.
20 years, and then that's,
So we could do this and still need a new truck in
In
10
20
years.
so you spend, yeah. So,
It's only 20 years that makes,
Now you're paying $1 million for 10 years, or you refurbish this one for $500,000
Well,
for 10
this,
years.
this 94 is almost 30 years.
so, just food for thought. Tad and I had a conversation about this and about,
What about kicking around the idea of buying another one from the metro, used one from the metro area?
if it's
And
if it's
with-
got years left on it.
Yeah, if it's got years left on it, and come in at that 500,000 and hopefully get 10 years, but then it's got the ability to be refurbished again.
How long does it take to get a true quote on new fire trucks?
I have one right here, because the manufacturer gave it to me at the Chiefs Conference.
Right.
So a 100-foot mid-mount is, until October 31st, is 1.9.
So that's a little bit better.
So November 1st, it goes to 2.1 because of a price increase.
Because everything costs more now.
How many manufacturers are around that do these trucks? You know, you mentioned you've got one quote.
So, and I have a couple more sending it to me. They were trying to get it to me by tonight, so I had more information, but I didn't get them. So you have Pierce, Rosenbauer, KME, Sutphen, E1, Ferrara, Spartan, HME, that build, and Seagrave, that build
100-foot ladder truck.
ladders.
Now, is there, if you talk to one company, say, give me a quote for a 100-foot ladder truck, platform aerial truck, is that enough for all of them to bid it exactly the same? So there's not, well, they come back and say, well, we have this type of tires on ours, we
Nope.
should be considered more. I think we should,
We can create,
we should just do a very quick, get quotes on all these things and see what the difference is amongst all of them. And if it's not a huge deal, you know, because that's really just one email, put in all theirs, here, we need a quote, don't say quick, because then they, say, we need your best price and see what it comes up as, and then we bring that back.
so, but the thing about that is I get a quote, and it used to be this quote is good for 30, 60, 90, 120 days. They'll give you a quote and tell you it's good for 2 days.
I think if anything, though, it'll at least let us compare against manufacturers, so, you know,
And-
out of the 7 or 8 manufacturers, you might be able to just see which ones are more middle of the road, which ones are
And
higher
for,
end.
and for $2 million,
Right.
take the time, so.
No,
would-
and
Yeah.
the other way to go about it is through HGAC Buy. And that takes care of the bid process, because all the manufacturers basically already bid to HGAC's contract standards. So they're basically bidding apples to apples when they submit their price, and it's locked in.
Is there a fee for that?
To be a part of it, I'm not for sure if there is or not.
What does that acronym stand for? I mean, I've never heard of
I'd
that.
have to look it up, but a lot of cities and municipalities are part of that HGAC buy,
Do you know what that is, Joanne?
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
because they all, I mean, so like backhoes, you have John Deere and Caterpillar and Case, they all, so it's all there, and they have to publish their price and everything, so everybody knows what it is.
Well,
So-
my thoughts, get council more data,
Okay,
and then, and Joanne, as quick as possible, we can run numbers in 2 or 3 scenarios and see which one would sound better, but.
okay. I just wanted to,
That stands for Helping Governments Across the Country Buy.
Oh,
That's what the acronym stands for.
thank you, Dan. Helping governments across the country.
Sounds different. We'll check it out, though.
Yeah.
so, just wanted some thought for that. large item. And then the other item is the pickup and trailer again. We requested it last year, and the description for the trailer didn't spell out exactly what it would be used for. So when you look at it in 2022, when we requested it, it was $75,000. And so the request this year for the exact same pickup and the exact same trailers, $90,651.
And on that one, I think the council said they're good with moving forward with it, but the rule board was gonna potentially pay for half of it. And then we were waiting for something in writing, is what Larry was saying.
I think it had something to do with the
grant.
With the DOLA grant, and if the city and them partnered, I don't remember the
Well, and I think it
exact-
was more helping them with the grant by kind of,
It's my understanding they did not go after a DOLA grant.
Oh, really?
I asked about it on Thursday of last week when I met with Greg Edel.
And
Asked
so,
him if the rural fire had met with the, contacted them or turned anything in, and he said no.
so on that note, Tad has tried contacting Greg Edel and have left messages for Greg Edel in regards to this grant, and has not received a phone call back from Greg Edel.
oh,
So
So is Tad doing the grant?
Tad is assisting the rural board with the DOLA grant and has not heard back from Greg Edel.
Because you had that idea, Monty, right, that we,
Yeah,
Said
and
limit
we
road,
offer to help out
yeah.
as well and help put some money towards it.
So
okay.
we can find out more at the next rural board meeting, but
And if they say no, at least put it in writing for
That's-
the city council.
so, yeah, that's all that I know on the grant, was that Tad had tried to get a hold of Greg Edel and left messages and never heard anything back from Greg, so.
Do you remember what the deadline was for that?
I don't remember, but Greg was telling me just last week that they are even considering now, he's advocating for another round of it because there's more money, more requests. And he said, don't be surprised if there is one, but he can't guarantee it yet.
Worth trying.
That's all I have for.
Okay. Thank you, Ray.
Yep.
that's right.
Miranda.
I have one request, but I've grouped 3 projects into the one request, all having to do with council chambers here. I've been working on the audiovisual improvements. We've made some replacements that became kind of an urgent need this year. And there is still more to do with the AV equipment in order to make it, bring it up to a level where we have the least margin for error and failure as far as no sound or no video. And along with, the least margin for error with the equipment and software failure. Plus, we need to have it as close to plug and play as possible so that we don't have to have an IT professional in here actually doing the recording for us, which would, in our current contract with the school district, cost us another $5,000 per year just for that. And so we're looking at more improvements on audiovisual. Aesthetic upgrades that we've had budgeted, but the funds went unused in 2022. And then also we wanted to add update technology. So we've got projectors and screens that are still relatively, I think 5 or 7 years of use on them, but they are coming toward the end of their life as well. So all of those 3 projects together, we're looking at an estimate of $48,000.
And we've had those aesthetic item in the budget for, I don't know, as long as I've been on council, so. I think we've been looking at doing it for.
Different things in here.
Yeah.
I think it'll be easier having everything bunched in together so
Mhm.
that they can all be done concurrently, and if we're in one area, maybe we can go over there and whatnot, so.
Mhm. Very good.
On a side note, how'd the golf course stuff turn out? The software, didn't we do the golf course, or not the cemetery
Cemetery, yeah.
software? How did that ever
We're
happen?
still working on that, it's quite a process to
Oh,
get.
okay.
Right now, we're doing a lot of research as we go through and scan cards. So concurrently, they're working on the mapping system while we're trying to get all of our records scanned on this end
Cool.
and solve some mysteries Nancy Drew, you know,
I can-
by day.
It'd be so fun.
I can-
So it's very much in the process right now, but we are making progress as well.
Very good.
All right, so page 72 is actually a repeat of what Dell had talked about already. So that's in there twice, but we don't need to talk about that one anymore. The other one is the remodel of the back area of the city hall. You know, we've grown, it's pretty outdated, got some issues back there. And we had this in the budget this year, but we just didn't have time to get that one done. And now that we have an additional person back there, it's even more important. So we still plan this year to visit with a contractor to do some design work back there on how to update it and better use the space. And we need to put something out through an RFP process just to give different contractors the ability to express their interest. And then we'll hire someone to start that process. But it'll roll into next year. My thought is it'll probably end up being, get the ideas and plans this year and then execute it over the spring, before summer of next year, so it's all done over the winter time. And that's all I had as far as administrative. Oh, no, hold on a second. Nope, that was it. Don't have my glasses on. I thought I had another page. One thing I want to remind the city council of is each one of these has a long story to it, right? And different questions that we still need to look into. But the other thing is the overall cost of all these. Of course, we can't afford everything. So it's just for the new council members and for the past council members and mayor, you know, at the next meeting that we discuss these, it's really gonna be the list, the complete list of everything will be on one sheet. And then I will go back through and talk to each of the department heads, and we'll talk about which are most critical. You know, number one, accomplish the priority list that the city council established, right? Because I mean, that's really our guiding document. And then we'll determine also things like Lance, when he has grants to pay for some, you know, we always say, don't lose that grant funding or money from the foundations. We don't want to lose those. We'll check with Ray and see what kind of bids come in on trucks, and we'll have a recommendation next time that we talk about it, which direction to go. The easy button is refurbish, right? But then the best financial solution could be getting a new one, but we won't know that until we truly have good quotes in hand. Other things, on some of these, I also take in consideration manpower. So they sound like it's great to do these, and we're gonna do all these, but then all of a sudden, street department only has 9 guys, right? And so the guys' other projects, that you can't get them all complete, you know? So you have to figure that out as well. And then the other thing that we look at is city council has reserves that we like to hold, 3 to 6 months of reserves in each of our major funds. And so we're gonna look at those to see what we can afford. So we're not gonna have all of these on the approved list, so some of them will be not approved. We'll have notes in there with our game plan, or special notes about that situation. So department heads know that I'll be visiting with them here soon, probably this week, because Joanne, we have this crazy goal, right? Because, you know, we have different situations where we need to get in contact with different grants and things like that, getting quotes and having to make decisions in 2 days versus 2 months. We have to move a little bit quicker, so we have this crazy goal of getting the budget all wrapped up even earlier than what we planned this year, so that we can say, the council can say approved budget, and then that's something official that I can say, if it's something for next year, that's gonna take a year to get a truck refurbished, half a year, whatever it is, we can get started earlier rather than later. So we are hoping to get done faster this year than before. That's our goal. So that's what's coming up next.
Very good. Thank you, everybody, for putting your time into the reports, and kind of exciting to see progress and spend money. No, just kidding. So we will move on to staff reports. Tyler Purvis first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just 2 items briefly tonight. So the first one, last council meeting, It had come up from one of the citizen comments about tapping into state funds when it comes to water conservation and the program that was put in place. So you had asked staff to come back with a recommendation, which I don't have tonight, only because we have talked about it on a staff level, but we're also doing a broader conservation investigation on different types of measures. So we're looking at actually creating kind of a list of ideas and then bringing those to council for some guidance based on that. But the short summary of that program is the state put aside $2 million for it. States would apply for funds for that, but as part of that, they have to have a local program in place already, which we do not have. And so by doing that, then your grant basically would be contingent upon their approval and what kind of plan you have in place and that sort of thing. So that's a short summary of that. Second,
Tyler,
yes.
so ironically, I went and bought some sod from Graf's Turf Farm, and then they have a display where they're starting to do the artificial turf. And so when I was there, I asked the lady, so is there like a budgetary number you can give me per square foot of what it costs to put this artificial turf in? And she says plan $10 to $12 per square foot is a cost, and that is an installed cost. And so she said that they'll go out there, they'll prep everything, and they'll lay it down for that amount. Unless there's some really unique situation with the yard or something like that. But in general, $10 to $12. And I thought the state program will reimburse $2 or $3 or something like that per square foot.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact number.
But however that works, I think it's something to really look at, because we've talked for years about water conservation projects. And I was thinking it was gonna be $20 or $30 a square foot, but if it's only 10 to 12, and if the state kicks in, city kicks in strategic places, it probably will save some water. But we do have to watch those laws and augmentation plans, things like that.
You can use that money towards like xeriscaping though too, can't you? Where it doesn't have to necessarily be artificial turf.
I think the xeriscaping probably impedes more on the drainage than the artificial turf, does it?
I don't
They
know.
were talking about, because when I was at the mayor, somebody brought it up, and something about, replacing with rocks and that kind of stuff kind of messes with some of the environmental stuff that is already going on. But I don't know. But they also made it sound like the turf replacement, the money didn't really go directly to residents. It went more to the community. And, but.
It was done as, you're talking about the program itself, it's
Mhm.
done on it goes to the community.
Yeah.
And then the community allocates those funds.
Yeah.
On a reimbursement basis.
But we
So-
have to contribute in some way ourselves, though.
Yeah.
I think is what we have to do.
So, yeah, they made it sound like individual homeowners might get $50 or something, so, but, just,
Yeah, so we'll explore that more on the staff
Yeah.
level, as well as many other measures for conserving water. The only other item, just kind of an FYI, we spoke about it at stakeholders, our monthly stakeholders group today, talked about a variety of things, but one of them was the challenge of workforce, and this is just kind of information data for you overall. I was at a conference last week, the Economic Development Council of Colorado, and the state demographer always speaks at that conference every year and has a lot of fascinating data to bring. And she had brought this up last year for the first time because 2020 census numbers had come in. And when it comes to the challenges that we're facing with workforce right now, it's likely that it's only going to get worse over time. And the reason being, if you look at sheer numbers, in 2007, the U.S. had their peak birth rate, and it's been declining ever since. That was 15 years ago. So all those 15-year-olds are roughly in 10th grade right now, and they'll be entering the workforce in the next few years. But as soon as they enter the workforce, that's the peak number of people entering the workforce. So every year after that, it's going to be less and less people entering the workforce, causing greater and greater issues for workforce. There's other factors involved with it overall, but you can't just make more people. It takes a while.
You can, but it takes a while to grow.
Well,
them.
exactly. It takes a while for them to get to the proper age. So just food for thought. It's not, again, not the only thing, but a lot of other factors involved with it, with technology, how people redesign their operations as a business will all be factors, but a lot of creative minds will have to get to work within their companies to try to solve some of these issues. So overall, I think what we can do as a community, making our community as good as it can be, just as far as overall community development, so that the people are well-rounded. It's tied into the quality of life, tied into education, tied into the strength of our homes. all those things will factor into quality employees, which is what every business is looking for, so. This is broadly, but that's all I have.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you.
Chief Boss.
I don't have much. As I mentioned earlier, we're doing a lot of training and catching up from what we missed in the spring. Our new CSO has probably got 2, maybe 3 weeks left, and then he'll be out on his own, and that's going very well. So, that's all I've got.
How are we doing at the school? Is it become a little smoother there, or no? Is that a dumb question? I'm sorry.
Fair question. It's a rocky road, but we're doing well on our end. So.
Good. Cool.
I watched the school board meeting last week, and they were redoing their RIGA or something, and they were going to be submitting it for approval.
Haven't heard a word.
Yeah.
At all. So. I know Dan Krobbs reached out to them a few times, and they've not responded. So.
Yeah.
Is there an officer in the schools?
No, we are walking through as we can. We're spending as much time there as we can, but again, that's dependent on calls and call volume. So.
Are you? Never mind. I'm leaving that one.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Ray, got anything for the fire department?
Just a couple of things. So, back in 2014, the state legislation created a trust. They called it the Heart Trust for firefighters. However, it was only for paid departments. And since that time, and then in 2017, they added the cancer into the Heart Trust, so now it's the Heart and Cancer Trust. And now it's going to be the Heart, Cancer, and there's another word for it, for mental health, the Mental Health Trust. And so in the beginning, it was limited to only career departments. Since that time, they have added combination and volunteer departments to it. So there is a cost, so again, it's going to have to be a 50-50, hopefully someday in the near future would be my goal, is we don't have 2 boards anymore, we just have one that we go through, but we'll see. There is a cost to it, so it would be a 50-50 share. To me, it would be another recruitment tool. And it covers, so in order to go into the trust, you have to have 5 years of continuous service with said department. So you have to be on brush for 5 years before you could be put into that trust and eligible for the benefits from it. It also includes, if you retire, it covers you for 10 years after your retirement if you end up with a heart condition or a lung condition or one of the cancers that is covered in there, that the trust supplements basically your income to help cover for those costs. So the Cancer Trust, to be part of the Cancer Trust, it's $108 per volunteer. So to be a part of the Heart is $129 a person, so you're looking at
Is that a
what,
year?
$217 per firefighter, so we'd have to go through our retirement list to see how many fall within that 10-year mark.
Per year, is that per
I
year?
believe it's per year, yes, to cover those individuals. So in as research goes on, they add more cancers to the cancer that they cover. So just recently in 2021, they included breast cancer, not only for the females, but the males as well into that. So there are certain cancers that they cover. So thyroid cancer, breast cancer, lung cancer, skin cancer, and it's all based on the research that's being done on all the carcinogens that are off-gas during not only structure fires, but vehicle fires and everything else. So that was a plus to find out that they have allowed combination of volunteer departments to be a part of that. So,
I have a question for you.
yes.
So you have a few full-time paid firefighters on the department. Would they be excluded from this because they're covered through their paid departments?
No.
Okay.
So if their paid department pays into the trust, then
Because they're serving both departments.
he will automatically, he would fall under Southwest Weld.
I'm not talking about just my
But-
husband. I know you have other paid.
Right, so they're covered
firefighters.
under their paid department,
Okay.
because theirs goes into effect the day that they start.
I just didn't know if that might be a cost savings to the city, if it's something that
So
we
they
consider.
wouldn't be covered under both of them?
No,
That's what I was after.
yeah, they would only be covered under,
Because there are more than just my husband and I paid firefighters.
Right,
full-time,
we
so
have-
there could be some cost savings there.
we have 3 total.
If we
so-
wanted to have that as a consideration, so that we could provide this to those that aren't.
So yeah, they would fall under their paid department.
Great.
And then, some of you were on the council when we presented this, I believe it was last year or the year before, for our members to get NFPA 1582 physicals every year. So part of the Heart and Cancer Trust is yearly physicals, and it's just not, you go to your doctor and they do their, 5-minute deal and you're out the door. This is a yearly, they do ultrasounds and they do x-rays and they do everything. We thought we had a company out of Arizona that would come out and do it, and they backed out because they wanted a certain number of people to do it, and we had it, and then they backed out. Well, at the Chiefs Conference, there's a company, they're based out of Texas. However, they're opening an office in Loveland. And so this company was founded by military doctors and psychologists and mental health people from the military. And they offer services to fire departments and police departments. So I'm waiting back for a cost of what we would be looking at per person to get our exams and the other services that they provide. So just briefly, medical services, annual medical evaluations, firefighter candidate, new hire medical evaluations, law enforcement annual and new hire examinations. They do psychological evals, human performance assessments, fitness for duty, if somebody's hurt, fitness to return stuff. So basically, all of the Larimer County, Weld County, those departments that surround Loveland have gone to this company. So once I have numbers back, again, it will be a 50-50 split between city and rural, but in order to be a part of the trust, you have to provide this documentation that you're doing yearly stuff for your members to ensure that they're covered.
So what was, the one you told us the cost, the second one, is there a cost yet?
Not yet.
Oh,
I'm
you're
waiting
working
for
on
the
it.
quote
Okay,
back
gotcha.
from them on the cost of what it would be per member, or if I don't know if they just do per department or
So,
what.
so there's gonna be a cost for their physical every year, plus the cost of the trust per
Correct,
firefighter.
correct.
Do you guys do physicals now? Annual physicals?
So we just started in the last year and a half. They go to ErgoMed, to do like their kind of physical deal there. And then yearly, we run our own version of what they call CPAT. So, but we don't do anything as far as what the standard is for NFPA, or, I mean, we don't do ultrasounds and chest x-rays and blood work. We don't do any of that. So now if, God forbid, one of us comes down with a cancer that they know is related to firefighting, other than workman's comp and our own health insurance, that's all we have.
So the requirement of the trust is that you have to meet this physical minimum standard, which is greater than what you're already doing.
What if someone doesn't meet the physical?
What's that?
What if someone that can't meet the physical, doesn't pass the physical?
So then they give them an opportunity to get themselves in shape, and they can go back and retest. And if they can't meet it, then they recommend that that person be pulled off the line or not.
But if they can catch these things early through those tests,
Yes.
definitely value that.
So, I mean, we don't, our benefit for serving the community is if you serve it for 20 years, you get
$110 a month.
$260 a month. So, if we can, you know,
Take care of our guys.
Do you think this will help with retaining people and getting new people in?
it's possible. So, one of the meetings that we have at the Chiefs Conference is a combination volunteer section chiefs meeting, and it's every combination volunteer department across the state. It's every organization that takes volunteers. Volunteerism it's dying. And so you gotta come up with creative ways and different ways to try to attract. The Rule Board went to their insurance, and their insurance said, yes, you can bring on 18-year-olds. They cannot drive trucks. So I don't know what the city's insurance has to say about that, or if they, so.
But isn't it Sursa?
Yeah.
It should be, there's, yeah, it's the same
I don't-
company.
There again, if we only had one board to deal with, we'd already know that answer,
Yeah.
but we don't.
Yeah,
so.
it's the same company, but we're both
I'm so happy
paying,
to
so
hear you say
we're
that.
wasting money.
So, yeah, so, anyway,
So so you're saying that the rural board would allow 18-year-olds, they just wouldn't be able to drive the truck, but they could fight fires.
that's based off
So-
of what insurance said.
So if the city's insurance said the same thing, then we could possibly open it up to 18-year-olds.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the same insurance company, Sursa.
Cool.
That would probably help.
So, that's all I have unless anybody else has any questions.
Where's the fire training center at?
Fire Training Center will be here in November.
Holy cow.
Dude, it just keeps getting pushed back further and further and
Well, look at
further.
what we went through with our truck.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be done in a year, and we got it in 2 years, so.
It's crazy.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Ray. Lance, Director of Community Services.
I just got a couple things. First, this past weekend, we
Bless you.
had an event called the Trillion Trees. I came to you about a couple months ago. We planted 7 trees out at Prairie Trails Park in honor of veterans around the area. And anyway, it was a really good presentation. Melody did a really good job, and so did the Trillion Trees Foundation. But to sit back and listen to some of our veterans and what they've done and what they've accomplished, and to see how proud their granddaughters and grandkids were receiving those awards, it was a pretty special day, and I'm very, very glad that we were part of that, and that next year we'll continue to plant trees out there and do stuff. So it was a pretty cool event. Then right after that event, where you're getting tears in your eyes and everything else. Went to the Bullhucker podcast here at the golf course and had our first comedy show, and I won't go too much into that. I'll let Larry talk about it a little bit more, because it was
Different kind of
he did a lot of work with it, and it turned out to be a great event. It was great for the course, and hopefully everybody who went to it enjoyed themselves, and it was a good time.
And your staff worked their butts off, man. They did
did.
some
They
running.
did a
really
They
good
did a
job.
really good job.
Yeah,
It looked
they were
really nice in there. You guys really decorated it up, so
Good.
it was a classy event. It really was, so.
So we're looking forward to the next one, which will be in December,
9th and
and
10th.
we're going to have tickets available here shortly, right? In
Yeah,
November.
buy them early so you don't miss out like I did.
Yeah, it'll be a good time, and then the final installment will be around Valentine's Day of next year. So then we'll get the next year planned.
I think it'll grow because people didn't know. It's been 2.5 years since we did it, so
Right.
people weren't aware of it, so now they are. So
And
I
yet you
think
still
it'll,
sold out.
this Saturday, yeah.
Saturday, yeah.
So Friday had so much going on in this town, it was nuts.
Saturday also had quite a bit going on in town though.
Yeah, Saturday was pretty busy all from morning till night. So,
But
it was
I
a
heard
good time.
lots of great reviews.
It was a good time.
That's all I have.
Thank you,
Thank
Lane.
you.
Thanks.
Dale Colrick.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Two items, 4.575 million is what my request was. Just let you know.
We're gonna put you and Ray in the corner.
Just real quick, it's that time of year again, the leaves in town and looking beautiful, beautiful trees.
Yeah.
And so I think we got a good staff that helps with making sure that we got a variety of trees out there, and they're looking really good. But with that comes the tree leaves are falling, and so our annual fall cleanup is just bag your leaves and put them by your trash can. We'll get the word out this week to set them by your regular trash, and we'll pick them up. But it's got to be leaves. We can't be taking trash and all the other stuff, cleaning out your basement and stuff like that. No. These are just leaves in bags that we're picking up for fall cleanup. And we'll start that November 1st. And
That goes to the end of
this
November.
end of November, yeah. We should have them down by then. There's always going to be a few strays before and a few after, and that's a big deal. Other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you for
Thanks, Dale.
posting
Thank
that
you.
today because like I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so
We'll-
I shared it in case other people didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because I get a lot of.
We'll get it
leads.
posted this week.
No, it's posted.
It's already posted? Good.
It's already posted,
Thank you.
and I screenshotted it, and I shared it,
Good.
and it was awesome.
I was gone today. I had some family business, so.
Aw.
Okay.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dale.
Joanne.
I have nothing this evening.
Okay. Lorraine DePecker.
I have nothing either.
Dan Krob, who's been waiting so patiently. Our city attorney is on the phone. Do you have anything, Dan?
I also have nothing. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. And Monty Torres.
I just have a discussion in the work session.
Very good. Mayor and council reports. Do any councilors have anything to share?
Justin looks like he's contemplating.
Trying to think. I don't think so. Yeah.
I have one thing I would like to say since we have so many of our department heads in here. I just really want to thank all of you for the work that you do. You know, I watch a lot of great leaders and a lot of good speakers, and they say that you should never be the smartest person in the room if you're the leaders. And even though I'm joined by many great leaders, there's so much knowledge in this room, and I'm just so grateful for everything that everybody does to make sure that we as counselors understand the communication that we have amongst us as a council, the department heads for all your hard work. I really appreciate it, so thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, I have a few things. We had Heritage Days that the Historical Preservation Board put on, and Recreation, were you part of that too? And Recreation, yeah.
I know the race wasn't part of that, but they were in the
Yeah,
facilities and
so
stuff like
that was, seemed like there was a lot of people there, and there was some lady from History Colorado there, and it seemed like it was really good. Lions cooked up some food. That seemed like that went really good. Lance and I will be speaking at the SAC lunch program before next, on November 4th. Could talk about we're gonna call it Active Older Adults Recreation, and just to get some ideas from them and kind of share with them some ideas that we've had, and I think we've been brainstorming and coming up with some really cool ideas to enhance our recreation program for our active older adults. I hesitate to call it senior programming. When I was doing a little research, there was another community, but they call it, it's 50 and over. I'm like, well, I'm right. So, but I like it. So I'm excited to do that presentation with Lance, and we'll report on that after November 4th. Friday, I went to the Mayor's Summit in Denver at CML, and it's the first time I've done that. Well, it's the first time I've been a mayor, so. But it was really, I learned a lot, and I came back really excited with some great ideas, and so I'm going to apologize because I'm going to try to make things happen. But it was just a really valuable summit, and I look forward to.
Don't apologize for being a mayor.
No, it was just
and
fun.
You were a speaker there as well.
I was a speaker there, so I had to do, yeah. I was part of a panel talking about team building amongst your elected official or council, and so that's where I came up with the thing that I shared with you today when I was just doing some research for my little spiel. Luckily, I was on a panel with other talkative people that had other things. Well, it was me and then Mayor of Golden and the Mayor of Colorado Springs. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Totally different worlds. I mean, listen to him talk. He doesn't even go to his own council meetings, and can't even relate to that. But it was really fun. It was good, and I learned a lot. So, and then one of the things we talked about there was doing our appointed employees reviews, and it occurred to me that we haven't done in like Monty's review probably in 2 or 3 years at least. So
pre-COVID.
Yeah. So I just really want to get back on that schedule, and we'll do a review for Monty and Loranda. So watch for I came back with some ideas for a new form to use, and so watch for that, and we'll get that done in November and December. And I think that's all I had. Anybody have anything else? No. And thank you, Larry, for an amazing comedy show. That was just
Thanks
so
for
much fun.
supporting it. And we are going to do, although the profits will go to a charity, this time we got kind of cut short on Friday, but I think the Heath Becker Foundation next, right? And we didn't, we had talked about the February and waiting until then to see if there's some in town, like a family in need or, you know, a child that needs something in this town, so we'll go by that.
Awesome.
And then, you know, Lance and I will buy something pretty with the rest, right? But that's, I think it'll be a good thing for us to have in Brush.
Yeah, it was awesome. So if nobody has anything else, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Can we do a vote?
Yeah, we can do a voice vote, but I still need a motion in a second.
Oh, I move we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
And for a work session, we're ready whenever council is.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, yeah.
Oh, wow,
He's
lucky duck.
he's a super, he wants you like swag and stuff. You know,